This is, just in case you guys don't realize, there's the blue check. This is the official Coach Prime Twitter account, 1.5 million followers, head coach of CU Buffs, followed by a bunch of people that I follow, etc., etc. He sent me a message and he said, "What'd she lie about, my brother? I asked all my kids, friends, family members, and loved ones to speak positively about JSU or don't speak at all. She got the number of murders incorrect, but not the people killed or robbed. I'm sorry it was said, period. What you don't know is there's players and trainers still broken about what transpired on campus. We tried to address it, but it is what it is. She's privy to much more than you and others are because she's my daughter and always has her father's back. For you to find joy in dysfunction says a lot." Okay. "God bless you, my brother, because you're better than that. And the Sanders are truly blessed before and after the calling we answered to bring the light to darkness." Okay. I had to go back. I have to go back and read. This is the first time I read it in a while. He said, "We filmed everything and I kept receipts." I was like, okay, wasn't the joy and dysfunction part I didn't like, but it wasn't a rude message. And this is how I responded. I said, "Coach, I hope all is well. I'm glad to hear that you have advised your children and loved ones to speak positively about JSU or to not say nothing at all, but that simply hasn't been the case. Up until this point, it hadn't been the case because Uncle Luke came out and said some things about Jackson, and then Deiondra came out and said some things about Jackson, and it just wasn't cool. And so I was like, that hadn't been the case. On multiple instances, folks that are directly associated with you have spoken very bad about Jackson State. That's not fair to the university. And quite frankly, it's not fair to you and the great things you did." And the reason why I phrased it like that is because there's one or two ways that you can look at this. One, these people, whether it's Deiondra, Uncle Luke, or whoever, speaking bad about Jackson State because they're getting the green light and they're hearing it directly from Prime. And it almost makes it seem as if these are the things that he wants to say. And we're going to get to that later in these because this was an exchange. And so this is all going down on January 22nd at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock at night is when he's sending me these messages. Colorado's on West Coast time, so it's probably a little earlier there. But this is when I got it. And I was like, yo, I was so stunned when I got this message. I didn't respond actually until the next day. And so let's continue on. I say, "I know you are going to do some cool stuff in Colorado, and I'm rooting for you. But I also think you deserve better than to have those associated with you put out misinformation. That is dangerous because the public at large will run with that info and take it as fact. Meaning if your daughter's out here saying that there were murders on campus every few months and that everybody's just getting stuck up and robbed, that's dangerous. That's a dangerous rhetoric to put out there because a lot of people at large are going to take that as bond, take that as a fact." They said, "My tweet." And then that's when because I was like, oh, he probably saw my tweet. He probably didn't watch my video because I did a video, but he probably just saw that tweet. And that's when I realized my tweet was kind of trending. He said, "My tweet was more of a joke, but I do stand with the good folks at JSU fighting against the info that simply isn't true." And so I didn't think he was going to respond because I sent that the next day, January 23rd at 1 p.m. He actually does respond, but he didn't respond until like a week later, this Tuesday. Tuesday at 9:43. He says, "I don't joke like that, my brother. My kids have public knowledge and were hurt at the way their father was treated on the way out." Well, I can't speak to that. Maybe they were, but that's not on me. "They know me and what we sacrificed to make it what it was. So understand where they came from. It wasn't misinfo." Well, yes, it was misinfo. Like, that's the thing. I don't know what's going on, but it was misinfo. It wasn't misinfo. It was the wrong number of deaths. Well, that's misinfo, coach. Like the wrong number is misinfo. It was the wrong number of deaths, which I never mentioned. We gone and we wish the best for y'all. God bless. It's over. Once again, I thought he was done with it. I'm going to respond, but I thought he was done with the conversation. I never mentioned. Yeah, you never mentioned it, but your daughter did, and she got it wrong. So that means she lied. That means it's misinfo. That means it's not the right thing. But okay, so I went on to respond. I said, "I didn't mean any harm in the tweet because once again, I did it as a joke because the folks were going in on Deiondra. I just kind of said, yo, I love it. It's funny that y'all like standing up for yourselves, that the good folks at JSU are standing up, and not just Jackson State fans and alumni. HBCU fans and alumni and supporters were standing up for JSU in this case. And I said, I didn't mean any harm with the tweet. I just didn't think it was fair to JSU the way your daughter did them. I said did, I meant did them. I get it. She was upset, but the number of deaths on campus at Jackson State still didn't change. How can you get the number wrong? It's just one. It was just one. You can't count to one wrong. It was just one. Yes, it is over, and we have all moved on. That's what I'm saying. This was a week later. He messaged me a week later. So we've all moved on. Good luck at CU. I will be following along with the journey at Boulder because I will, because I still am rooting for him. I hope he does well. I know players on the team that came from Jackson State. I've had them on my program. I'm rooting for them. I hope they do well. I hope they kick butt in the Pac-12. Congratulations. Good job. Now, this time I responded actually fairly fast. He sent it at 9:43. I responded back by 10:05. He responds back the next morning. And he says, she wasn't lying, my brother. Well, yes, she was. Yes, she was. 2 people died in a month on campus, my man. Did you know that? No, I didn't. Because I've searched high and low for that second. Now, once again, I do not want to minimize the fact that a young man lost his life. I do not want to minimize that. And that, I hope that's not getting lost in all of this. But as far as I know, there was only one person that lost their life on the campus of Jackson State University recently. If somebody can show me differently, please tell me. But it happened on December 2nd. They arrested the man on December 3rd. On December 2nd, it was the Friday before December 3rd, which is the Saturday of the SWAC championship game. Remember, I told you guys I was on campus that Friday. And they arrested the man that same night before the game. So let's continue on. 2 people died. Now, this is where before I just want to stop sharing for a second. Some of you may have already read it. But what I want to say is this is the part I think he wants me to say. And to be fair to Coach Prime, to Deion, I am going to put this out there because I think he wanted me to. But I'm also going to dispel some of it and push back on it. But in fairness to him, I am going to read what he said to me in this instance. Now, let me go back to sharing because the 2 things can be true at once. Some bad things probably did happen to students, coaches, or whoever. But also, you can't put every single bad thing that happens in the city of Jackson, or that happens in Madison, or that happens in Pearl, or that happens in Mississippi on the university. So that's what I'm saying. So now let me go back. I'm saying that before I read to you what he said to me in this next message. Let's go back to sharing my screen. Bada boom, bada boom. He says, 2 people unalived in a month on campus, my man. Did you know that? No, I didn't, because last I checked, I still haven't found that second person. A homeless person came into the girls' dorm with a knife. That's unfortunate. That's sad. That's scary. It's very much scary. Also, 10 cars of my team, said if, I think he's meant of my team members and coaches were broken into. Once again, that's unfortunate. That's sad. That's wrong, broken into. My office got robbed 4 times. And this is the first time I've ever heard this. But he's saying my office got robbed 4 times. Had never heard that before. That's sad. That's unfortunate. And the first time my assistant walked in on the person stealing my stuff, and the school president put out a statement that I misplaced my things. That was a lie. You know what time it is, my brother. Stop the lying and the covering up of ignorance. Now, this part is where he kind of like ticked me off, right? Like, I was kind of like, this is the part that made me put all this out there. When he said that, like, stop the lying, what the I almost cursed. What the hell am I lying about? I ain't lying about nothing. Your daughter was the one that was lying. Let's continue on. You know what time it is, my brother. Stop the lying and the covering up of ignorance. Once again, not covering up ignorance. Never do that. We as a family fought for our kids and refund checks and housing, food, safety, and many other ordinary things that they weren't receiving that they should have. Man, the truth hurts, but it's the truth. Now, here's the thing. Here's why I'll give Prime props. I never said he didn't fight for children. I never said when the children, the kids, the students, the student athletes. Never said he didn't do that. My whole thing was about his daughter lying about the murders that took place on campus. She said there were murders every other month, and that just simply wasn't true. She said I wasn't misinformation. Yes, it was misinformation. And she made it seem like there were stick-up kids taking everything from all the kids. Now, will I say if 10 cars, and I'm not saying Prime's lying. I mean, 10 cars being broken into by students, 10 cars of student athletes and or coaches being broken into, that's wrong. That's not cool. His office being robbed 4 times, that's wrong. That's not cool. I'm not going to act like that's cool. The president, if the school president allegedly put out a statement, said he just misplaced his things when they were actually stolen. Now that is the $1 million mystery, because JSU, like he said that he just misplaced them, and then he is continuing to say that his assistant walked in on the person robbing him. I don't know how that interaction happened, but if that is the case, that's not cool. I'm not acting like that isn't cool. But here's what I will say though. Jackson State as a university can't just stop the crime that's taking place in the state of Mississippi. Jackson State as a university can't just stop all crime everywhere. They can have preventative measures, but if some knucklehead decides to go on campus and break into, and from what I was told, that there was a string of break-ins. They just didn't target football players and football coaches. There was like a string of break-ins on campus. Jackson State as a university can take preventative measures, but they can't just stop and automatically say stop to every knucklehead that wants to break in cars. They can't do that. I live in the city of Louisville, Kentucky. The last few years, it's been one of the top, I hate to say it like this, but it's had a high homicide rate. But and there's burglaries, there's all kinds of stuff that takes place. There's a bunch of crime that takes place in the city of Louisville. But at the same time, just because there's crime and things that are happening in the city of Louisville doesn't mean we can blame the University of Louisville for the crime that's taking place. You can't blame a school for crime. The